This podcast is part of the Listen Frederick Podcast Network. To learn more, visit listenfrederick.com.
What's up, everybody? Here we go again with episode 74 of Beers in the Lot. We started out this one talking about our beer league that the four of us participate in, Old Fat Bald Guys Hockey League. Then John opined for a short, about some possible trades coming and the current state of the Oilers. Then Eric voiced his displeasure about the Hurricanes' recent signing of Minnesota Golden Gophers star goaltender Jack LaFontaine. So here we go.
You got there, Aaron.
I am not gonna like this.
Stellar.
I haven't even had a drink yet. I can tell by the smell.
And
I've got out of North Carolina, I've got a Green Man IPA, India Pale Ale.
yeah, dog.
I can smell it. I'm not gonna like this.
Oh, come on.
Give it a no thank you sip.
Yeah.
There we go. I'll drink it, but not my first choice.
Oh,
Probably not your second either.
Probably not my second.
oh.
What you got, Daniel?
All I'd say is treat yourself. I'm drinking a mega treat by Treehouse Brewing Company. Weird. Yeah, it's good. Went back to the well. Still got stock in that, you know. John, in your very colorful jacket you have there, what are you drinking?
Quarter zip, but thank you. It's, yeah, I'm getting ready for the Masters already. That's why. From Lancaster Brewing Company, Fresh Roasted, which is a peanut butter English style ale. So, yeah. 'Tis the season, I guess. Colder weather, heavier beers, all that jazz. Riggs, what do you got?
So I had one more obscenity, the truth from Flying Dog left in the fridge. So I decided to have that tonight.
Nice. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I like the mugshot on the can. Gets me every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lenny Bruce. Yeah.
I do love that. I actually have one more Treehouse left from the stash that was gifted to me. But I chose not to go with that because there were a lot of obscenities in beer league last night. So
It's fitting, huh?
figured I'd just continue that trend.
Here.
Well, tell me about it. I didn't get to play last night. What transpired?
Well, in that league, right? Old Fat Ball Guys. It's a 3-month season. So it's fall and then winter and then spring/summer, and then we'll go into like a break over the summer, right? So the winter season rosters were drafted, and let's just say they might be a little lopsided. And we'll leave it at that. I'm not going to say anything else because I'm directly affected by one of them.
It is the wrong end of the lopside.
Yeah, I took a look at the rosters and they don't look great. Two teams are kind of weird. At least two.
Now, it was only the first game, so maybe, who knows? But as Danny makes faces.
Well, it'll be a season.
Yes, it will.
You guys are all 3 on separate teams, right?
Yes.
That's a little different. Normally 2 of us are on the same team.
Mhm.
Even, I mean, I'm sitting this season out, but even still, the odds are kind of in your favor that 2 of you will be on the same team. But interesting.
Yeah, John and I had a good game last night. It was close.
Yeah, Danny had his full complement of players. So it was 21 with an extra goalie on the bench. And we had 7 skaters. So it was actually a really close game. But in the third period, we ended up, it was 1-1 going into the third, I think. Right? Something like that. Or 2-1. It was close. And then they rattled off like 2 or 3 with like 7 minutes left in the third. We had no gas at that point. It was just, it was over. So, and we lost another guy due to like a pulled hamstring or something. I don't know. Another guy who doesn't stretch before physical activity, so.
He took himself out of the game because of age.
Yeah. Well, I made the joke. He's like, oh yeah, it's my hamstring. And I just did like the miracle line. Like, it's a long way from the heart. Like, you can't, so whatever. It's all in good fun. And we even said like, it was cool. It was a good game. It moved pretty well considering all. We were all kind of joking like on our bench too after the game. If that was like 3 or 4 weeks from now when we're like back in the groove of things and in season, that game, I'm not saying we end up winning or anything, but I think we would make a few more plays because we would add legs.
Yeah.
It's different when you're in season. We've had like a full month off almost.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know I've been skating a little bit. Danny has. Riggs, you've been doing a little bit with coaching at least, so you're moving. But like, it's different. I did pick up, so it's different than a game, obviously. So.
Yeah, short bench definitely hurts you when your first game of the season after a break, like a month or however long it was, like that definitely hurts you. But later in the season, like you're saying, it might be a benefit. But
you did have the right 7, like the 7 that showed up. That if we were gonna do it, that was the 7. So
your one defenseman tried to entice me over to your bench. I wanted to go after our 5th winger showed up. I'm like, really? Are you serious? Like, so we got to do the winger rotation now? That's
after
great.
The third guy who's going to get healthy scratched after warm up showed up. Is that why?
Yeah.
Never a good feeling when you've got 6 other wingers to roll with or whatever, or even worse if it's like an odd number like that, 5, and you have 2 on one side and 3 on the other. I
don't mind it as long as I'm on the 2. I don't mind it that
much. Our captain was like, "Hey, you guys good with the wingers?" And I'm thinking, no, like the whole time. like, can you take him back there on D? Have 5D?
Yeah, because we had 7 and we had 1. So 1 D man changed and 1 forward changed at a time. And at one point, someone goes like, "Hey, forwards, are you guys good?" And we're like, "Oh, you guys just gonna play Iron Man the rest of the game? What are you guys gonna do?" Like,
your one defenseman probably could play the whole game.
Maybe. And then the other, and it was kind of funny. Like in the second period, I had like a 10-minute shift. Everybody at one point pulled one of those, but I think kind of one of the funnier points was when we were sitting on the bench there, and we're all like, "Man, we're really in it. Next week, we should just not show up and let everybody else come. Like just
the other half of the team
play. Yeah, the other half of the team show up. They know how it feels." But we're gonna have to see some doctor's notes next week. That's all I'm gonna say. To uncommitted people, I want to see excused absences only.
Gotta love beer league.
So much drama. First game of the season.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's fun drama.
I think we create the drama.
Well, if there wasn't anything like that to talk about, what would we talk about?
It's like wrestling Like,
Exactly. Yes.
We have villains and
Like,
heels.
all the little things are amplified through conversation, right?
Yeah.
It's just like wrestling. Everybody shoots promos in the lot, and like it's like
Next week, I'm coming for you, brother.
You just made the
Yeah.
list. Just do that.
Is it the email list?
Yeah. Actually,
Yeah.
that was the other thing. So I forgot to tell you, Riggsy,
Oh, that
but
was
it's
funny.
actually, it's kind of comical. So I joked years ago that we need like a communications officer. And the only thing this person would be completely in charge of is making sure all the emails and the invite and whatnot and the emails that get sent out, everything is correct and it's actually done, even if it's just a cut and paste job. So Danny and I had the later game. Eric had the East Coast start. We all kind of showed up a little early just because it's first night. Just want to get there early and the locker rooms are closed, yada, yada. So Eric goes into his game. Danny and I are standing outside. The other guy pulls up who actually like hasn't played in like 3 seasons just with everything else going on between family life. You know, we had the COVID pandemic, yada, yada. He shows up. He's like, hey, how you guys doing? We talk for a little bit, like what, 7 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
Not too long. And at this point, Eric's game's already going on. So maybe what, 2 or 3 minutes into the first period at this point, something like that. So we're staring there and he just looks at me. He's like, hey, do you guys even know what team you're on? I was like, oh yeah, we play the 9 o'clock game, whatever. He's like, oh, I wonder what team I'm on. And I just looked at him like, you didn't get the email? He's like, no.
Remember, I even joked. I said,
Yeah.
oh, you're probably on the 8 o'clock game.
Yeah. And then he's like, no, I didn't get the email. He's like, I told, the elders, as we call them, yeah, put me on a team. And he was placed on a team. So I go through the rosters and I'm like, oh yeah, you're totally playing now, man. He's like, ah, shit. So he grabbed his stuff and I was like, hey, give me your email really quick. I'll just forward it to you. And I did that. And he was like, hey, I really appreciate it. So communications officer, done. Just for something simple as making sure we have everyone's appropriate email. It's ridiculous.
John and your email, I tell you what, it's been an ongoing thing.
Yeah, because I got locked out of my like forever email, like,
and you couldn't figure out how to click on forgot my password.
No, because actually that's Gmail. That's a Google thing. I'm serious. That's a Google thing. I did it about 150 times.
Like, so you're saying I hit print, but it didn't print. I'm going to hit print another 100 times. Maybe it'll work on the 99.
No. Anyway, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, because actually, funny enough, for like 3 or 4 seasons, I would never get the schedule. I would never get the Evite, none of that stuff. I would have to like text somebody and very politely go like, hey, could you freaking tell them or forward me the freaking email? And the worst thing is I sent an email from the correct email like 17 times. Like, hey, can you stop using that email? Use this one going forward. Hey, no problem. Thanks. And then like a pickup would come out or the season would start and I'd be like, oh, I don't got shit. This is so annoying. Like, finally, I almost had enough of it. I was going to go John Wick on him just to get my email. It's ridiculous.
It never ends.
Imagine if there was a communication mechanism that that everyone could have access to and provided not only announcements like rosters and scheduling and such, but also provided communications amongst teams, amongst the league, the general public, if you wanted it. Imagine if there was such a thing. Oh, wait, we're on it right now. Oh my goodness.
This is where we tell everybody who listens from our league to get into our Discord. We actually have a
everybody
chat. We got a
does.
channel even. I have a channel set up for all the people who are in our old fat bald guys league that could be, you know, in a private, whatever, separate chat and coordinate.
The
I
older
don't know.
guys in our league
Whatever.
can't get it on their Cricket wireless phone.
Yep. That's the
They're still
problem.
using T9 to text.
Yeah, jitterbug.
It's 2022. People can't download an app.
Well, apparently
Technology's hard.
some people can't do forget my password either. So you know.
John is seething. He's about to blow up.
Could you not find all the boxes that had the traffic light in it? What happened?
All the pictures with boats.
Yeah.
I forgot.
And there's a canoe.
Couldn't even remember my favorite high school teacher. So annoying.
Town
It's
you
like
grew up
final,
in.
It's the final boss. Yeah, the final boss of password gatekeeping. Who's your favorite high school teacher? I got everything else right. Damn it.
Oh man. What else is going on? It's been an eventful week in hockey, hasn't it? Maybe I'm thinking of a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I can't really think of anything.
Stuff goes on every week. I don't know. Johnny, what
Things
do you
happen.
I think there's a lot of teams sitting on their thumbs right now. I wouldn't be shocked if we start seeing some trade movement. I think if we had the Olympics, I actually think we would see some of that. So players can get a game or two before the Olympics, maybe a little practice, go do that, come back, and then they're kind of acclimated. You know, some of the home life stuff is set up. Like if they have a family, they'll either, you know, kind of come in and do all that. But it's still this weird thing with the salary cap because a lot of teams not only are crunched, they have to do like a dollar in, dollar out thing. So if you're the Edmonton Oilers, where they really didn't do anything in the offseason I feel like we've been saying it for like 3 years. Like they have a goaltending issue, and outside of Darnell Nurse, like they don't have a ton. Well, correction, Chris Russell blocks a ton of shots. But they got an older Duncan Keith, so that helps, yes. But it's not like Duncan Keith at this point is not going to be the guy that gets that group over the hump, you know? And they still have issues with secondary scoring and goaltending. So you have a lack of D, a lack of forward depth, and a goaltender. And a goaltender's a good plug, you know, to help you with some of it. But they didn't do anything in the offseason. They didn't do anything. So they're still in the same thing. They're still doing the same thing they've been doing, and they're just wasting more years of Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl's prime. So
I think that's a crime.
it should be a crime.
I think the league should punish that team.
They should move the Edmonton Oilers to Arizona.
Oh,
Well, in Arizona, too, they have the Jacob Chikrin thing. Phil Kessel's probably going to move. How many more assets are they going to move? You know, there's a lot of teams that, like, it's such a weird year because, like, normally you have teams that are kind of close enough where they're a game or two out and they have games in hand. There's quite a few teams this year that are just bad. Like, and it's glaring where, like, even if they're like
Arizona bad,
Philly's bad, Montreal's bad, Edmonton's getting bad, but I mean, I think that team will get in the playoffs, yeah, but they're not doing any damage. Seattle's pretty bad, but also I was joking before, like Grubauer in terms of like goalies that have 100 or more shots faced, he's like dead last in expected save percentage. So that roster's kind of, they had some injuries, guys haven't gelled as quickly as they thought. I think Grubauer gets shelled every night too. So that's the other thing. Like Colorado, he had a little better.
Maybe he's just tired.
Yeah, that could be the other thing.
His workload's crazy. And the other thing I think about with him, and there's no way to know if this is right or true, but maybe he doesn't like it there. Maybe it's just not a good situation for him, in one way or another.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, that's the thing. Players go. I mean, whether it's expansion or trades, or I mean, we've seen it. Even people that get drafted places and they don't either like the environment or the organization or even kind of the city. They're just kind of like, this isn't my vibe. Like I'm sure like certain kids in Canada, they probably, whether you're from out west or in a hustle and bustle in Ontario, it's actually sometimes the reverse there where they're kind of like, I'm actually kind of glad I play in the States because I can kind of go out and do things. And then if you're, like a Canadian kid and you end up, especially if you're from Ontario and you end up on the Leafs, like I'm sure at the end of the day, I mean, they all have John Tavares pictures where you're sleeping in the bed with the PJs and the comforter and stuff. Like that's a lot of pressure. That's a ton of pressure.
Yeah.
And even some Americans, when they go to like, original six teams and whatnot, it's tough, but it's not like Toronto or Montreal tough. It's not. But Riggs, talk about your boy signing with the Canes.
Oh my God. So Carolina.
The way you say Carolina, just
so Carolina enticed standout college hockey goaltender Jack LaFontaine from your Minnesota Golden Gophers to sign an entry-level contract and leave the number 7, I forget where they're ranked, but they're basically a top 10 team in the national rankings. I know that they were 10th in the pairwise, which is the algorithm that college hockey uses to help determine seeding and eligibility for the national tournament. So very good team that is losing their very, very good goaltender and workhorse goaltender. I don't think they've had anyone start any games of significance other than him in the past 2 seasons. So Carolina basically threw a $250,000 signing bonus at him. So he gets $250,000 cash to leave Minnesota, and then he gets on his ELC deal. They do have goaltending issues there. John could speak more to that. And LaFontaine was on his extra COVID year of eligibility. So basically any of the kids that played last year could come back this year because they didn't burn a year last year. So I don't know. If I'm a Minnesota Golden Gophers supporter, or if I was the AD, or if I was in the staff in the hockey department there, I would be fucking pissed.
Do you think that this actually, this really tanks their chances to do well in the tournament?
No, it's a great team. They're still a very good team. He's not the only reason why they're in the top 10 in the country.
Sure. Yeah.
He's a big reason why. So, and they really haven't had, I couldn't name the other 2 goaltenders that they have.
For whom?
Minnesota.
So I can't either because he's carried kind of the load anyway.
He was the goalie there. That's his crease.
Well,
so yeah.
I think, I agree. It's scummy on Carolina. Weird. But, there's a lot. It's especially with.
Hey, tone it down. We got a lot of Carolina listeners.
We do actually. So thank you. back on our bullshit this week.
Aaron and I at least are staying neutral in that situation.
Yeah, we are. We're staying neutral.
Eric and I are not.
Never
He's
say
not
anything.
been neutral.
I will never.
We gotta
be
balance each
neutral
other
on
out.
that. I will give them credit where credit is due. You know, when they're playing well, which they have been playing very well, and they have some very, very good players. But that's, I don't know.
Evidently, they have good scouts.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, come on, it's not hard. All you have to do
Yeah.
is turn on the Big Ten network on the weekend. You know, after 8:00.
All right, so we need to quote Eric on saying that. By the way,
Yeah,
for the socials.
I agree.
The socials this week.
But no. So I was doing a little digging kind of today when Eric and I were kind of going back and forth on the topic, and of course we were very, in line. We're like, screw Carolina. Why are they doing this? I mean, like scumbags. Why are they doing this? But if you look, keyword, all their goaltenders actually. So they've had 3. Anderson, Ranta, and Leon, who's only played 2 games, so whatever. All their goaltenders have had 50% or more of their starts where they've ended the game in a 900 or better save percentage. So what that is, that's kind of the Hockey Mendoza line of essentially your goalie's stopping, obviously, 90% of the shots he's facing, that's kind of the NHL average. Now, you don't want to be average. Obviously, you want to be above that. Frederik Andersen is I think he's like 68%, something like that. But the other thing I looked at, goals for 5-on-5, Carolina's in the top 10. Shot attempts, they're in the top 10. Power play goals, they are not actually in the top 10, which actually is a good thing because that shows you on their goals for total for the year, they're getting either other special teams shorthanded, which I didn't look into, or just they're beating everybody 5-on-5, which is a very good trend regardless. Because everybody knows power plays ebb and flow, and same with penalty kills too. You obviously don't want to be dead last in either category. If you're middle of the road, that's fine. They do have enough talent there, I will say it, to turn that around pretty quick. And believe it or not, like the Rangers, I think a few games ago, or I know Vegas too, they have issues with the power play, but I think Vegas and New York, I think like up until a week or so ago, they had like a power play goal in 6 straight games. And I know the Pens during their 10-game win streak, they had a goal in 7 straight, power play goal in 7 straight games. So that adds up pretty quick, especially if you're making teams pay. So, but Carolina's not doing that. They're doing a lot of their damage at 5-on-5, which is very impressive. So good on them.
That's really good too going into playoffs here because the teams that can control 5v5 tend to go very deep and they tend to win Stanley Cups. So if you're able to control play 5v5, you're in good shape. But if you're dropping games that you should probably win because you're getting subpar goaltending, right, now you've got a problem. And so I think that's what this is about, right?
I think they may be worried something either happens to Freddie or maybe something to kind of push him over the edge, if that makes sense. I actually think part of the Toronto thing, I don't think that was all Freddie. Now, granted, you can go back and look at those games, those deciding games and kind of go, yeah, maybe there's a squeaker or 2 in there, but it wasn't like he was letting up half court shots. There were some weak ones, yes, but there was a defensive lapse which led to like a wraparound or a weird play in front. So whatever. But yeah, Freddie's played well, but yeah, maybe it's an insurance thing. It could also be like, as bad as it sounds, like a taxi squad move, which I'm not a big fan of that because, like I said, I said it like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I still mean it with like the Pens and P.O. Joseph. Like, he's losing another year of development where he should be playing games. And especially LaFontaine, like, he has a chance to, take Minnesota deep and at least get the conference championship aspect of it. At least they'll be in the playoffs for that. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen the rest of the season, but they need that. And especially in that division, that is like that's essentially this year, the Big Ten is the SEC of college hockey. It is all the big names are there, all the big players, and all the good programs. And it seems like all the good coaches too. There's a lot of good coaches there too that are getting their kids developed and moving on really well. So,
yeah, it's kind of a shame that he won't get to play NCAA tournament if Minnesota were to make it. And
it doesn't matter. He signed his deal, so he's done.
Will. Yeah, it's a
he
shame that he won't get.
Done.
But it's this is something too that I've wondered about, because I know somebody said it. I read it somewhere. It was like 5 or 6 years ago. We reached peak goaltender or something like that in the NHL, where goalies were everywhere.
Yes.
Like there were so many goalies and so many goalie prospects that
like Super Saiyan.
Well, I don't know, but it was like, you know, you could easily find a decent goaltender prospect, and goalies weren't making as much money because there were so many of them, and there weren't enough jobs for goaltenders going around. And I don't know if that's changed in the last 5 or 6 years or so, we're starting to need good goaltenders and they're coming up short.
So I think there's a couple things that go on there from just a purely like financial standpoint. There was a movement by GMs over the last, I don't know, probably 10 years or so, to shift salary cap to scoring. There is a high premium on scoring in the modern game. And so if you could figure out a way to get two sort of 1A, 1B goalies onto your roster and split the contract of one sort of like 10 mil a year goalie. You know, if you could split the contract of a Carey Price caliber goaltender between two guys that can start for you in any game and give you a chance to win, but they're not going to be that Carey Price type player, or even like a Vasilevsky or something. There was a movement towards that. Now, if you're lucky enough to have one of those players, if you're lucky enough to have a Vasilevsky or a Price or even like a Leonard or somebody like this that is going to be your workhorse and you're going to throw money at to keep, you're going to do that. But the average is going to be, let's split that one contract amongst two goaltenders that could start any game for us and give us a chance.
Right.
And then dump all the money into scoring. Because the
idea
modern
being,
game
let's shoot the lights out rather than bank on a goaltender that'll steal a game now and then.
Right. So there's that. The other piece is, we've touched on it before, but there have been huge advances in goaltender training, very specific goaltender training. It used to be that goalies would show up to practice and the training was just seeing the most shots that they could and having to stop all of them. Now they're getting, over the last probably 15 years now, maybe even 20, they get very, very specific technique training, and they do all kinds of weird stuff with, putting cameras, at a puck level view to see angles and holes and try and cover those up depending on, your body type and your personal technique and like all kinds of stuff. So I think a lot of that goes on too. And so the overall skill level has increased over time, which it should.
Right.
And so now these organizations are all backed up all the way back into their Coast League teams. Right.
With goaltenders.
They probably have NHL caliber dudes down in the ECHL, and you'll see guys move up and down that way. And it's, I think we're in a weird time for them. So, like you're saying, the market's flooded with talent.
I play I play a lot of NHL 22, and I've been playing my Wilkes-Barre Scranton team actually, and seeing a lot of the goaltenders that are in the AHL, and I'm like, I know all these guys. They played on whatever team last year,
Yeah.
and it, like you're saying, they must just flutter back and forth between the N and the A, year to year or whatever, maybe even within the year, depending on waivers and all that stuff. But it definitely seems like there's lots of talent out there.
In two, so kind of to touch on your point, Aaron, and what Rigsby said. So Florida has Bobrovsky, who is a Carey Price, we'll call him caliber contract goalie,
Right.
meaning he makes the same money.
Right.
And I'm doing air quotes. And yes, Bob is like a super good goalie. I'm not saying he's horrible, but he got that big paycheck. He didn't do that well. They had Spencer Knight come in last year on an entry-level deal and do really well. And then you have, Robin Leonard was in Buffalo. And then when he ended up on the island, because they actually have resources there and invest in, kind of the mental and physical well-being of their goaltenders, because goaltending is very mental. I don't care what anyone says. It is. Because a lot of those guys, when they get beat on shots, whether it was a deflection or this or that, they definitely analyze it. It's not like a skater when we kind of go in on a 2-on-1, we miss the pass. We can instantly analyze and go like, all right, this is what I did wrong. For them, it's more positioning in relation to the puck and then also reading plays and whatnot. So it's totally, it's a different segment of the game that, I'll say it, it's not talked a lot about. So there's quite a few teams that do a good job in developing goaltenders. Like the Penguins had it going on, and then we got Mike Buckley, who's total garbage. I could have probably done a better job. And I'm going to stay on that horse. But they have Chiodo there, and DeSmith has looked okay. I think he's gotten shelled in his starts. But Tristan Jarry's looked very good. He looked kind of like the goalie that we all kind of thought when we got rid of Murray. And everyone keeps saying like, oh, wait till the playoffs to get a look. But I also do think I think every situation's unique in goaltending. It's not the same. Say whatever you want. The Islanders did their job to beat the Pens. They just started shooting pucks when they needed to. The Pens kind of got a little too cute in that series. Some games, yes, they definitely controlled the play. But if you kind of look at, just because you have puck possession doesn't always mean take shots. So that's a nice thing, kind of to bring it back to Carolina, unfortunately. Like, if you have the puck, but you're not doing anything with it, it doesn't matter. You need to actually put shots on net and do your due diligence when you have the biscuit. So it's the same thing. Like people that, go like, wow, that team had 45 hits to 20. Well, yeah, they were chasing the puck the entire night. So of course,
it's the Chris Russell Award. It's like, great. You block shots. What the hell does that mean your team's doing?
That means he's never on the ice with Connor McDavid.
Never touching the puck except for it off your shin guards.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there you have it. Episode 74 is done. Hope you enjoyed the banter. We've already done this 73 times before this week, so go ahead and check out the back catalog if you like. And wait around for next week. We'll have another one for you. But while you're waiting, come talk to us in Discord. And I am definitely talking to all of you from OFBG who are listening. If everybody was in Discord, I wouldn't have to get reply all emails about who grabbed what puck bag. Come on. Okay. It's supposed to be an outro, not a rantro. Here we go. Thanks again, everybody, for listening. We really appreciate your listeners, your likes, rates, reviews, subscribes. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.